what your concern is, and pretty much unless there's something new that someone would add to what the 5 speakers have said, then that will be, we will hear what you're saying. So that is how the process, sorry. Pardon?
Just start the meeting.
I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners, June 15th, 2021. Please rise for a moment of silence and the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay. You are attending a board meeting. I am the chair of this board meeting. I will make the flow of the meeting. So for someone who started the pledge ahead, that is not what I consider being respectful of the process. So let's try to remember to respect each other, okay? All right, moving on. We have a consent agenda before us. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as
Want to do
presented?
the regular agenda first? I'll make motion to accept the regular agenda.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Smeezing, seconded by Commissioner Brandt.
Madam Chair, with the board's permission, can I just make a note on one of the consent agenda items before you
Yes.
approve it? Item 16, under consent, is to set a public hearing date on July 15th to consider amending County Ordinance Number 241 regarding subsurface sewage treatment system low-interest loan program. The staff would like to add, as part of that public hearing, in addition to considering the loan program for well replacement as an eligible activity when deemed necessary for repair or replacement of septic system, staff would like to also be able to consider amending Section 3.3F, the loan interest rate, and specifically the parameters, so minimum, maximum loan rate. As Commissioner Dolan noted, loan rates are so low right now that we feel like we should probably adjust that and bring back to the board. So the motion within the consent agenda is what I'm requesting, that be included.
Okay, are you amenable to that change?
Madam Chair, I'll accept that.
Okay. And are you amenable to that second? All right. Okay. Okay, the motion then to accept the consent agenda as amended is on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll move the consent agenda with that change.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Fobi, seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Announcements. What do you have for us, Mr. Messelt?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Just a couple quick announcements. Upcoming meetings, just a note for the board. This afternoon at 3 p.m., we do have the Board of Appeal and Equalization scheduled. We will have a quorum, which is important, so Diane and Michelle will be here, and Commissioners Brandt and Danielewski have been trained, so as long as they're there, and I believe Commissioner Schmiesing and Commissioner Dolan will also be in attendance, so we should be set for that. Just a reminder, June 29th, we do have an outdoor recognition for employee anniversaries. It's a large gathering because of COVID, so it'll be about 1.5 years worth of anniversaries. Also on July 14th, a note that there is a Township Association meeting, so we at 6 p.m. at the History Center for those who plan to attend. And then the special board meeting will be July 15th at 10 a.m., a little bit slight change there, and that's the rescheduled one from July 13th. Also, following up a little bit on the sheriff's conversation, there is, from Ellers, who we work with, there is a series of public finance education for elected officials. If anybody's interested, it's going to cover capital planning, annual budgeting, and tax increment financing. So it's a neat little series that's Ellers done. I'll pass this around if anybody is interested. And that's it for announcements.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, we will be having our open forum. The purpose of the open forum is for the county board to have public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. Personal attacks of any kind against another person, a commissioner, or an employee are not allowed. Campaign-style presentations are not allowed. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. Discussions that require additional time beyond those original 15 minutes will be recessed and continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meeting agenda. All input or information is to be addressed to the Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are public information. The county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed, and the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed. Please note, any information provided to the county board on a matter that is subject to a public hearing will not be considered by the board during public comment. You are asked to write or submit your comments in accordance with the instructions of the public hearing to ensure your opinion becomes part of the record for consideration. So at this time, like I said in the beginning, please 5 people that will represent what your issue that you want to present to us to speak at the podium, 3 minutes with a total of 15 minutes. So Keisha, who do we have signed up?
We have 8 total people signed up, Madam Chair. The first person signed up is Jim Newberger from Becker on the 2A resolution.
All right. Jim?
Well, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jim Newberger. I'm a citizen of this county and a resident of Becker, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to come before you. Before we move forward, I understand and I respectfully would request that the chair would consider waiving the 3-minute rule and allowing more people to speak at a reduced time limit. As long as we stay within the 15-minute time frame, if we get 10 people up here, or 2 people up here, or 20 people up here, as long as we stay within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I would give that request to the chair and seek your approval on that.
I'm fine with that, as
All
long
right,
as we
thank
stay within that 15 minutes.
Thank you. I'll keep my comments short. Miracles never cease. I'm Jim Newberger, former state representative, and I am here today representing folks here that support a resolution to be passed at the earliest possible time frame that would make Sherburne County a pro-Second Amendment sanctuary county. This movement was pushed forward a year ago by State Representative Shane Meckland, and this is supported by our elected representatives and state senators who can't be here today because they're in session. This is supported by Representative Meckland, State Senator Andrew Matthews, Minority Leader Kurt Doubt, Senate Majority Leader Michelle Benson, State Senator Mary Kiffmeyer, State Representative Sandra Erickson, and State Representative Paul Novotny. All of these folks are doing a really good job for us in St. Paul, and they support this resolution. And I also stand in support of this resolution, and I humbly ask that you join us and join the citizens of Sherburne County and adopt this resolution and pass this at the very next meeting. I understand you can't do that today because it's not on your agenda, but it can be placed on the agenda for the next meeting. That is my request, and with that, I will bow out to the next speaker. And thank you for your time, Madam Chair and Commission members.
Thank you. Who's our next speaker, Keisha?
We have Jim Bonin of Big Lake, again on the Second Amendment resolution.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, thank you for hearing me today. Jim Bonin, I live in Big Lake. I'd just like you to put this resolution on your agenda and pass it. I don't see what any hesitation or resistance would be. This is a resolution to stand up for our God-given natural rights. They're inalienable, protected by the Constitution. Everyone has the right to life. Everyone has the right to defend that life. I would appreciate it if the people that represent me at the county level here would stand up for that. There's this thing called the Doctrine of Lesser Magistrates that says when higher levels of government renege on their abilities and rights to stand up for the law and our rights, that it falls to the next lower level of governments down, and that goes all the way down to the smallest government, which is the individual. And I ask you to stand up for our rights before it gets to my front door as an individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Keisha, next.
Next, we have Rich Stroman of, if you could please let us know what town you're from, please. Again, on the Second Amendment resolution.
Good morning, Rich.
Good morning, Board Commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Richard Stroman, and I am a resident of Zimmerman, Sherburne County. I just ask that you pass this resolution to, again, as Jim stated, the constitutional and God-given rights. The Constitution does not need to be rewritten. It needs to be reread. And I'm in support of this, and obviously a lot of my fellow residents are as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Keisha, who's next?
Next, we have Kathy Zebarth of Elk River.
Good
I
morning,
thank you for this
Kathy.
opportunity. I was thinking back on some of the emails many of us have sent to many of you, and the responses have been, we support the Second Amendment. We took an oath on that amendment. The unfortunate thing is, as was mentioned above you, people are not sticking with the Constitution and understanding what the Second Amendment truly means. So all we're asking is for you to read this resolution, study it, and understand that we just don't want you to put any financial resources toward people or entities that would try to break our Second Amendment because of their understanding of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for your comments. Keisha, next.
Next, we have Paul Seefeld of Big Lake.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. In this room, we have many veterans, and I just looked up the oath, and it says, pardon me, it says that we will uphold and defend the Constitution, and I think we're all ready to do that. And as Jim said, all levels of government, so I know there are 2 townships in Sherburne County that have passed support for this, and I hope there are some cities ready to do this.
Thank you, Paul, for your comments. Keisha,
Next, we have Mindy Kay from Zimmerman.
Mindy?
I couldn't hear her, sorry.
Okay, Mindy.
Can you please
Adrian.
pronounce?
Is it Wendy? Mindy?
Mindy? It looks like Mindy Kay, unless it's Wendy.
Zimmerman?
Could be Wendy. I'll just defer my time to the next speaker. That's fine.
Then we have Joanne Gunderson of Elk River.
Good morning, Joanne.
Good morning. Joanne Gunderson, Elk River, Minnesota. I had not planned to speak today, although I am here to support the Second Amendment. One of the reasons I am highly in support of that, my father was a Minnesota State Highway Patrolman. He was shot and killed in the line of duty in 1973. I am not against alcohol use. He was killed by a drunk man. I am not against gun ownership or gun use. I became interested in shooting because my father did not defend himself. And I did never want to be in a position where I was unable to defend my own life. My father laid down his life for this state, for this nation. And I am willing to do the same. And I expect and would hope that you as well would be willing to lay down your lives for this nation.
Thank you for your comments. Keisha?
And lastly, we have Lori Dickinson. Lori, if you could please say what town you're from? Maybe it's Terry.
Good, Terry? Terry, there you are, Terry. I was gonna say, I heard Dickinson, but I don't know Lori. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Rayanne. Okay, Chrisanne Hall has 4 things that lays a good foundation for this meeting. 4 things to know about the Constitution. 1, the Constitution is a standard of government, not the Supreme Court, not a majority rule vote in Congress. Quote, "The power of the Constitution predominates. Anything, therefore, that be enacted by Congress contrary thereto will not have the force of law." James Wilson, Ratifying Convention, 1787. 2, the Constitution is a contract among the states that created the federal government. It is not an agreement between the feds and the people. That is a temporal impossibility. The federal government cannot be party to a contract when they didn't exist until the contract was ratified. 3, the original intent is the only legal way to apply the terms of the Constitution. Contract law dictates that the meeting of the minds is the controlling standard of the contract. There is no position which depends on clearer principles than that every act of a delegated authority, contrary to the tenor of the commission under which it is exercised, is void. Alexander Hamilton, Federalist 78 and 1788. 4, the Constitution created a constitutional republic, a government limited and defined by specific enumeration of authority where laws are made by equal representation of the people. If it is not enumerated, it is not constitutionally authorized. We are not a democracy, and our government and its laws are not dictated by majority mob rule. Quote, "Those who ratified the Constitution conceived that this is not an indefinite government, but a limited government tied down to specific powers." James Madison to the House of Representatives, 1792. Our government problems are not because of the failings of the Constitution. The many crises in America are because we are failing to enforce the Constitution and demand those in government operate according to this standard. Our American experience will cease to decline when the people have knowledge and courage to turn away from the dictated errant narrative and learn to speak and stand for the truth. This miseducation perpetuated upon the American people is not an accident. It is coordinated effort to expand the power of those in office and extinguish the inherent liberties of the people. We are asking you to acknowledge our constitutionally protected, God-given rights of the Second Amendment. Just making a resolution. And that's all we're asking you to do today. And I can't apologize for starting the Pledge of Allegiance because that is my gratitude towards my liberty and respect to my veterans.
Thank you, Terry, for your comments.
Amen.
Okay, who's next?
We do have a Wendy Nelson. Wendy, were you the one?
Wendy?
Okay. Wendy Nelson is from Elk River.
Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning. As you know, my name is Wendy Nelson. I live here in Elk River. One of the things that I've heard as an excuse or a concern about not passing this resolution is, what if the Constitution changes? Let's think about this for a minute. The Constitution is a vehicle to protect our natural rights. It is definitely corruptible. There's a possibility it could be corrupted, okay? Let me ask you guys this. If the Constitution was changed to treat a certain group of people differently, would you do that? I can't imagine that you would. The way I got my permit to carry, and by the way, Sherburne County has the most permit to carry and registered guns in this state, so please recognize this is a large group that you represent. I went into North Minneapolis to get my permit to carry at a minority church, and while I was there, what I learned was that the reason the riots last summer did not go into North Minneapolis was because they used their Second Amendment rights to form a local community militia. They protected their families, their businesses, and their children from those destructive rioters because they had the right to do so. So please, commissioners, think deeply about this. Think about what this means. This is literally self-protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy, for your comments.
I would just like to say that we have 2 more speakers and we have 2 more minutes left in the open forum.
Okay, so who's
The
next?
next one is Pelly Christensen. If you could please state where you're from.
Good.
Good
Hi, my
morning,
name is Paul
Kelly.
Christensen. I'm from Becker, Minnesota. I am a veteran. I did go out and collect 300 signatures on this 2A defender paperwork. I do work full-time. If I did not work full-time, I probably could have got 3,000 signatures. I feel this is a very important thing for us to uphold, and I'll go with that.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Dennis Smith of Big Lake.
Dennis, good morning.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dennis Smith. I live in the Big Lake. got like 1,000 signatures for the 2A. I just want to say this is really important to me, to the community, to our law enforcement, for everybody. I think that, you know, today we're talking about 2A, but had it been the freedom of speech or the freedom of religion, it's the same thing. It's very important to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And thank you, everybody, for coming out and sharing your thoughts and concerns with the board, and appreciate your thoughtfulness and your respectfulness as well. Remember, we're all your neighbors as well. So thank you very much. At this time, this will conclude our open forum, and have a great day. You're willing to stay if you want to watch the rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Oh, you didn't get up and say anything? You're just a wallflower? What the heck? That's not normal. Have a good day, Paul. Ben, you gonna stay? Are you gonna stay? Okay. All right. We'll take a second to clear the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next up on our agenda is consider the request to rezone from agricultural to general rural for Justin and Melissa Massman. Lynn,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
First item, Justin and Melissa Massman, rezone from ag to general rural. This is at 14808 County Road 30 Northwest in Section 13 of Big Lake Township on 12.16 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval with the findings listed in your packet.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda is to consider the approval of the preliminary standard plat for Carlson Farm Ziegler Custom Homes Incorporated.
This is 9 lots in Section 13 of Baldwin Township on 80 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 6 conditions listed in your packet.
All right, looking for a motion then.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item, consider the interim use permit application for a large contractor's yard by the Polchek Family Partnership, I don't know if there's an extra L in there, but LLP normally. And I hope I said the name correctly. Lynn?
Sounded good. And the owners are Jeffrey and Carol Groth. This is in Lot 1, Block 1 of Teeters Industrial Park 2 in Section 13 of Haven Township on 7.8 acres in the Industrial Zoning District. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 11 conditions in your packet and the findings of fact.
I'll motion approval,
Okay,
the
motion
conditions and findings.
made by Commissioner Smeezing,
Madam
I'll
Chair, go ahead, Lisa.
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to considering a interim use permit application for a home business in an accessory building office from Braden and Pamela Hubbard, Core Exteriors LLC.
This is a home business and accessory. It's in Oak Savannah, 2nd Edition on Lot 7, Block 1 in Section 26 of Blue Hill Township on 2.99 acres in the General Rural District. Planning Commission recommended approval. We added 2 additional conditions and we amended condition number 3. Staff is recommending those. So there's a total of 9 conditions with the findings of fact in your packet.
So has the owner been aware of the additional conditions?
Yes, the owner is aware. We have spoken with them regarding that.
Motion to approve as amended.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, moving on to consider the conditional use permit application for riding, stable, and horse boarding facility by Jenna and Jeremy Hoffman. Oh, sorry, let's back it up. I'm sorry, I went ahead one too far. Looking to consider the interim use permit application for a home business and accessory building for auto repair and restoration by Ryan Kersling.
And the property owner on this one is Diane Bemboom Revocable Trust. This is at 6413 47th Street Southeast, Section 26 in Haven Township on 2.5 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval of the 12 conditions with the findings in your packet.
All right. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval with the conditions and findings outlined in the packet.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan. Second. Seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? I did have one question. I noticed that there was some language pertaining to, is this an auto repair and restoration that does body work as well? Or is it just mechanical?
Only mechanical.
It's just mechanical. Okay, then that explains the one piece. All right, that answers my question. So any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. It gets confusing once in a while when it says auto repair and restoration. Is it mechanical or is it body work? Okay, now moving on to considering the conditional use permit application for the riding stables and horse boarding facility by Jenna and Jeremy Hoffman.
This is at 24660 112th Street Northwest, Section 22, Livonia Township on 18 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval with the findings and the 11 conditions in your packet.
Madam Chair, quick question.
Yes.
Was the 25 horse maximum, I know that was a conversation at Planning Commission, is that the new number? Were they originally 23?
Yes,
Okay.
we've amended it.
All right, I just wanted to make sure because it wasn't a red line, so, okay. Madam
Okay.
Chair, I'll move approval with the conditions and findings outlined in the packet.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Boy, you guys have been busy. Next on the agenda is consider the conditional use permit for personal storage structure by Craig Hart.
Madam Chair, on the next two, I am going to stand down.
Okay,
They're
All right.
properties that I sold, so.
okay.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I'll move approval on agenda item 5.7 for the conditional use permit for Craig Hart.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I will second, Madam Chair.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, is that with the 5 conditions and the findings?
The 5 conditions and the findings of fact.
Thank you.
Correct. All right. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
No,
And-
minor abstention.
And an abstention. So we have 4 in favor, none against, and 1 abstention. All right, moving on to the next one is consider the conditional use permit application for personal storage structures by Mark Hart.
And this is in Lot 7, Block 1 of Sleepy Oaks in Palmer Township on 1.54 acres in the Shoreland Residential Overlay District and the Shoreland Overlay District of Rush Lake. This has 5 conditions and your findings.
I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval with the conditions and finding as outlined in the packet.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan, seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Do we have any abstentions?
Aye.
So
Abstain.
that motion passes with 4 in favor, none against, and 1 abstention. All right, moving on to consider the conditional use permit for personal storage structure by Diane Teagues and Robert I don't even know if I want to attempt that.
Kestelson.
Thank you. I did not want to do bad on it, so,
You could have done it.
yeah. I have a name of Danielowski, so I know about how mispronouncing it. All right, Lynn.
So they're requesting conditional use approval for a personal storage structure. This is in Palmer Township on .54 acres in the Shoreline Overlay District of Big Elk Lake. Planning Commission recommended approval with 7 conditions and the findings of fact that's in your packet.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval as conditioned.
All right,
Findings.
motion made by Commissioner Smeezing, including the 7 conditions and the findings of fact.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Moving on to consider the approval of a preliminary and final simple plat of Benaventura Vista, 3rd Edition, Anderson Brothers Properties, LLC, and Orton Properties, LLC.
And so this one, the Planning Commission recommended approval with the 1 condition listed in your packet.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of this with the 1 condition in the packet.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Phobie,
I will second, Madam Chair.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. Moving on to consider the amendment to Pope Douglas allocation agreement.
You missed
Oh, did I miss one? Sorry.
11.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Consider request to rezone from commercial to industrial, Anderson Brothers Properties, LLC, and Orton Properties, LLC. Lynn.
So Planning Commission recommended approval with the findings listed in your packet.
And Madam Chair, I'll move approval with the findings listed.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie. Second. Seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Then you're done.
Thanks, Lynn, and thanks the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Love that.
That's got to be some kind of a record.
It has to be.
That was good.
In volume or the time it took
Thanks
us
for
to
the
approve
work.
them?
People
Yes.
are busy. That's good to see. People are busy and doing things. All right, now we get to go to Mr. Lucas, considering the amendment to the Pope Douglas allocation agreement. Dave.
Madam Chair, members of the board. So as mentioned in the RBA, it was discovered that there was a typo in the Pope Douglas allocation agreement. The years did not match up with the tonnages. So this went to Tri-County at last month's meeting. They approved that amendment. There's a 1-page amendment that will align the years and the tonnages to be delivered by the Tri-County service area. So I'm looking for a motion from this board to approve that amendment to the allocation agreement.
Madam Chair, we've spoken about this and understood this from, I believe, a workshop that we, or was it at the Tri-County Solid Waste meeting?
It was a Tri-County solid waste meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll move approval.
And
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie, and this is basically just to correct a typo.
It's to correct the typo, correct.
Okay.
Just a 1-year shift to the right, I think.
I had like maybe a dozen lawyers looked at it and, you know, nothing against.
So you had 12
lawyers.
opinions. but-
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
All
probably,
agreed
that
on
was
this
probably the
one.
first problem. All right. We have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
All right.
Okay, moving on to consider the Elk River Landfill license modification and renewal. Dave.
Yes, as mentioned at the last workshop, the renewal modified license will provide for or require corrective action to occur with the groundwater contaminant plume coming from portions of the landfill. We worked through with the state and to come to an agreement on some language that provides for corrective action, and working with the waste management, back and forth with several different changes. And we have arrived with language that they are accepting of, and language that does push for corrective action to occur. It will require monitored natural attenuation. I basically laid that, what that means at the last workshop session. And we will be monitoring that as part of their annual reports that they will be submitting, the work plan that they have in place. This license incorporates all of those license documents. Looking for approval for this renewal.
So what is the timeline for the modifications to happen to stop the,
Agreement, 3 years, 4 years?
is it 3 years?
So the term is through December 31st, 2024.
Okay,
And that's when a major report is going to be coming out. And it's a chance for us to take a look at what is happening. And if any changes need to happen with those license documents, that's the time to make those changes. We're going to start seeing their annual reports coming in next year. So we're going to start seeing some of the monitoring happen. We will be looking at it regardless,
right.
but they're going to be submitting reports on a timeline. A big report sometime summer of 2024.
So my question then is, what is it we're expecting them to fix how are they going to fix the issue and stop it from continuing to happen?
What this license requires is that they address the contaminant plume that is in Rice Lake.
Okay, already there.
Yes, already there.
Okay,
Any new releases will require additional corrective action.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And that language is in this license as well. So what's out there right now, you're going to be monitoring to see if it naturally attenuates within Rice Lake, Tibbetts Brook. So any additional releases will require a whole nother set of corrective action.
Okay.
They'll have to take a step back, look what's going on, address that separately. They don't get to fold everything into this.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, this addresses our concern that we isolate this and look at it, and it gives us a bridge to move forward with this agreement.
Correct.
If I understand correctly.
All right.
'Cause we were concerned that we weren't paying enough attention to this.
Yes. All right, looking then for that motion to approve adopt the resolution granting a solid waste facility license to Elk River Landfill that provides for the MSW landfilling, demolition landfilling, and processing and recycling activities as defined located at 22460 Highway 169 Elk River in accordance with the county solid waste management ordinance 180.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing, seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. One thing I wanted to mention in regards to going forward, I know we've had some discussion and there's been some possible upcoming requests for expansion of the landfill. And I just wanted to kind of put in our thought process that where are we incorporating the recycling aspect as well as we move forward? When I see some of these tonnages continue to climb, and all we are doing at the moment is landfilling, I'd like us to figure out how are we going to proceed forward with some form of recyclability in some of these things, so everything doesn't end up in the landfill. Driving down 169, and you just see the extent of how long that is, and the thought that it wants to expand now is just like, wow. And those don't go away. They're there for life.
You are right. You're right. Oh.
All right. That was just my 2-cent comment. Let's start kind of thinking
Noted.
about something.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, the annual county administrator performance evaluation. Tammy, welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, County Board of Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this agenda item is to discuss the upcoming county administrator performance evaluation, specifically process and timeline. Opportunity to discuss with you all and Mr. Messelt any suggested changes you might want to make to the process. So first, I just want to give you an overview of the current process. What we've done in the past is I've collected anonymous multi-rater feedback from department heads, as well as a self-evaluation from the county administrator. I compile it and I give it to you all about a week before the performance evaluation. Pretty simplistic, but I did want to open it up and ask you all if there's any suggested changes or additions you would like to make to the process.
Yep. And in conversations with Tammy and trying to figure out, this is Bruce's annual review, and deciding when we're going to start that process with Tammy's schedule, our schedules, because we want the full board participating. So it was just trying to figure out how we can schedule this and have everybody there and get a good evaluation process. And we're always looking at, is there anything to improve upon? We haven't looked at this process for, well, since I've been here, so that's a couple of years. I know that Tammy sent everything out as to how it works now, and if there was anything that anybody's seen that could be done better. I think a 360 is a really good, round, fair process. You get input from department heads, you get input from colleagues that Bruce associates with, doing the county's business outside of our county walls, and then our input as well. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have any thoughts? And what's a timeline that we can all be here on?
Madam Chair, my only comment is I do believe that we should contact an outside employment attorney, that the board would act on the board's behalf if the board had any questions or any input that they wanted to gather through that mechanism. I don't want our county attorney to be in a position where she is dealing with our administrator directly in terms of employment issues, if there is any.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dolan.
So I just want to understand Felix's request. So are you saying we contact someone to be that person should anything arise?
Right.
So it's kind of putting someone in queue if there should be any issues?
Absolutely. That's exactly what
Okay.
I'm,
All
that's
right.
exactly.
I was just trying to understand what that was.
It would be no one we'd expect to be in the if something would arise through the evaluation process.
Right.
We'd have someone to contact after, so.
Right, or during, if we had questions, we could, and if we had an attorney that was on the board's behalf, they would, and it wouldn't be just to simply one respond to one commissioner, they'd respond to all commissioners. You have a question, and that's how that would just be somebody on retainer that may never be used.
Okay, thoughts?
I guess, me personally, I'm not opposed to the idea of having that resource at hand should the need arise. I don't know, the relationship between, I just want to make sure that using that outside counsel in a certain place doesn't put us in a bad position as far as how we're protected by statute. I want to make sure that we fall within the guidelines that we have. But as far as having a resource, I guess I'm not opposed to having someone to answer questions should we have them. Yeah.
And for myself, and having been involved in enough of evaluations through city council, and I did participate in one evaluation for Bruce already. We've always used our representative attorney, and I guess maybe here at this level, it's a clarification of, like I think you had asked a while back, is the county attorney representative of us as well? And that clarification isn't really clear, I guess, to understand that. I so far have had no problems in Kathy's ability to answer any questions that have come up. She's very good about finding out that information and getting it to us. So I have no issues there. So I guess I'm somewhat neutral on this, I guess. I wouldn't want to see a lot of taxpayer money being spent on something that
Madam
I
Chair.
don't feel we have at our own, yes.
Madam
Mr.
Chair, and this isn't about Kathy's qualifications. She is an attorney. There's no, there are different specialties in terms of attorneys that kind of cross those boundaries. But my concern is as we move forward with these things, our administrator and our county attorney have a relationship. And that relationship can impact what goes on in dealing with this issue or this working through. Hopefully, we never even, don't have to go anywhere with it, but I don't think that we want to put either one of them in a position that they could become at cross means, cross ways. I just don't think that's a good idea. I think we should have somebody outside that doesn't, because things have a tendency to spill over if there's issues with relationships, and we don't want to. I think they have a good relationship now, and I think they'll have a good relationship afterwards, and we'll be certain that they do if we don't put them in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, so I guess the way I understand it is it's preventative. We're just trying to make sure that whether it's now or 3 years in the future, if we have an issue, we have a resource to go to without even broaching the subject and making those waters muddy. I mean, anybody that's dealing with a personnel issue within the four walls has somewhere to go. This is our only employee. We have that process outlined, but it can get icky quick if there's an issue, so.
Yes, and I would concur with Felix's request just to not put either Tammy in a situation or our county attorney in a situation because of their roles with our county and their relationship also with our board. So.
Barb, any thoughts?
No, I agree that this would be appropriate.
Okay. All right, there's a direction there. Now, scheduling.
If I can say a little bit more, is there an opportunity for staff to participate with paper copies if they need to?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. Last year, we did use our electronic system, but we could always go look at paper.
Okay, just I think to offer that option would be appropriate.
Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. Time. When? What meeting? What meeting are we all going to be at?
I will not be at the first meeting in August.
Okay, so then that is out, and Tammy, your vacation is?
I also will not be
Right
at the
around
first
that
meeting in
time.
August.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Second meeting in August
17th,
then?
August 17th?
I'll be here. Everybody else? Good, so August 17th then? So then you'll get the 360 process started, you'll get the, whether it's electronic or paper, and you'll get that all going and get them to us as well.
Yes.
And then we can start heading down to the 360 evaluation process. Any further discussion on this one?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd just like, by contract, the review process is something that the board agrees on along with our administrator. And I think it'd probably be important to find out if there's anything that he feels might need to be changed or any suggestions to the process at all. Bruce,
Any thoughts, Mr. Messel?
or are you comfortable with the process the way it's been?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to comment. I was not aware this was going to be, I thought it was just a timing issue, not a process conversation, so I'll have to take a look at things and respond back. The other thing to think about is the administrator is not represented at all either. There's no union contract or anything else. So perhaps the agreement should allow that if there's outside counsel, that the opportunity be the administrator can also have opportunity to do
Absolutely.
that. So.
Absolutely.
All right. But if it's okay with the board, I'll take a look at the agreement and maybe through the board chair just present some thoughts if there are any.
Yeah, that would make sense. I know the only thing in some conversations about the process, because I'm not a big HR guy. I will own that. The processes are foreign to me. I've never dealt with it, until I was really in this role. It's always been someone that's better at it than me.
Yeah, and you use outside counsel for other HR issues. I think Ben is he just specialized in only the sheriffs, or does he do other things for you, Tammy?
He does other things.
So,
and-
it's pretty natural just to have an outside resources specialist, and, I've not spoken with the county attorney about it. This is new to me, but, whatever the board wants, we'll make it work.
All right.
And what I was going to say is the only thing that I heard come up that's not necessarily part of our process that came up in conversation as I was taking a look at this was the ability for the board chair to collect input from each individual board member as part of that 360 process. That might be something we want to look at. That's just a suggestion, and if it's something that Bruce wants to look at when, after he has a chance to digest this, that would be my only comment as something that might be missing from the overall process at all, so.
Yeah, because I think we need to participate in the same questionnaire that staff and his outside colleagues are participating in. That creates a fair process, and our comments then, I think, should be also brought to a center. So I'd be happy to do that as well, so.
And I can work to assist you, Madam Chair.
All right, so, well, I think we've come to a final how we're going to handle the evaluation process going forward. Perfect?
Tammy, do you have enough to?
I do.
All right.
Do we need a motion to approve? Is that necessary?
I think
Okay.
it's just a direction of, yeah.
Sure.
Madam Chair, Tammy, and from my understanding, we really didn't change much. We just shifted 2 weeks later than
Yeah, pretty
we would
much.
normally be scheduled.
Yeah, the one change I heard was to collect from you all in advance, give you the performance evaluation instrument to complete. We have not done that in the past.
Right.
So that would be the biggest change that I heard.
Yeah, and that's if Bruce, again, I believe in Bruce's contract, he has to agree to any changes in the process, so I just wanted to throw that out there as something. But
Yes.
yeah, and other than that, I just want for clarification to the public, this is a big discussion for really a 2-week shift in timing is the big piece, so.
Yep.
Bruce, any thoughts?
The track start process is fine. I mean, it's a normal process. I don't have my agreement in front of me. I think normally it says administrator follows all the HR rules, policies, and procedures. So, to the extent Tammy is comfortable that, can be accommodated, it'd be great to have your input before the meeting. I mean, that's, I work for you, so, and, when 3 of you say I don't work for you, then I won't. So that's.
Okay, Tammy, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving forward then to receiving the American Rescue Plan Act, update and consider recommended approvals and expenditures. Dan?
Good morning again, Commissioners. First is the weekly expenses under $50,000, and you can see in the packet the total is $100,558.34 for the biweekly approvals.
Okay, I'd be looking then for a motion to approve the request for the biweekly ARPA-related expenditures.
Madam Chair, I will move approval of the biweekly ARPA-related expenditures outlined in the packet.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second, Madam Chair.
seconded by Commissioner Smeezing. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
And secondly is the expenses over $50,000. There is a housing resource specialist request through HHS. I'm going to invite Amanda up. I think you guys were aware of that from last week, but just to formalize the process.
morning again. I won't go too much into this because I presented this at the last board meeting, but again, the request is to supplement a 0.5 FT for a housing resource specialist to a community living infrastructure grant that we had received. 4 goals is landlord engagement, prevention through case management, help folks transitioning out of institutions, and then also helping folks find and stay in housing. It's a heavy list, far more than probably one FTE can even do, but again, the request is for 1 FTE. As mentioned at the last meeting, there's really no sustainability plan. When we talk about ARPA, sustainability is always at the front of my mind. However, I think most or all of you are aware that both state and federal housing really is a priority. I think it's a realization that without safe and stable housing, folks can't really kind of achieve that self-sufficiency level. And then even just on the board agenda this morning, where I think there were 4 letters regarding new housing developments that are popping up in Sherburne County, and I know there's 1 or 2 last meeting. So does anybody have any questions regarding this request?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just a quick comment, and I harp on this all the time, so it's not unusual. When we're using these ARPA funds for these positions, like you said, that have no sustainability plan, I think it's going to be very important for staff and for the board to have some type of metrics to be able to point to, because eventually we're going to have to make the decision whether this is a levy-funded position or not. I just want to make sure that we have that data in front of us. So again, not specific to this role, just in general when we're looking at these things. You guys are all good leaders, and I expect that you'll have those in place, but just know that that's something that I'm going to want to look at going forward. So,
Madam Chair, and I agree with Tim on that, and I think I brought it up before that, and we don't wait until 12/24 and say, hey, we got no money, we got this position. I mean, I think we need to begin to think about how that's going to go, well, the day it starts almost, and just so that we're ready. And I think there will be opportunities for people to stay in different ways if this doesn't go on, but we have to be thinking about that. We can't wait till the end. I'm preaching to the choir.
If I may, also the opportunity with this is that it is a grant-funded position, and so there are very clear metrics in terms of how many encounters they have with how many individuals, how many people achieve housing, and how many people stay in housing. And then again, really the sustainability plan, that we're grant writers up in HHS, and just with the influx of funds in the housing market, that's the sustainability plan.
I think we also have to know, as we continue to grow as a county, that housing needs are a huge issue. I mean, there's always people looking for housing, whether it's rental, whether it's home status, and I don't think it's going to go away as we continue to grow. So having someone that can work and focus on those issues as well on behalf of the whole county, I think this will be a good way to see how that can be implemented.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the expenses exceeding $50,000 in ARPA funds.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolan.
I'll second.
Seconded,
Anniversaries.
that's right.
Go ahead, Barb.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Branch. She had her hand up. I didn't see it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, moving on to receive the Public Works report regarding County CASA.
We got one more.
He's not quite done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda, or I'm Dan, sorry, Dan.
Try to get rid of me all day
I
today.
am, yeah, I don't mean to do that intentionally.
The second thing we want to talk about is the business recovery program, and this is something we talked about at the last meeting as well. We did take nonprofits out. The program would have a $20,000 grant max and $10,000 max for sole proprietors. We did change it to a first half versus first half revenue comparison. So you would have to look at the first half of 19 versus first half of 2021. We think that really shows a COVID impact with those 6 months. And it also states right now may be required to sign up for a half hour with the entrepreneur lab that we have. I've been contacted by at least one commissioner that says that should be a requirement.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Instead of may. And then there is some discretion by staff that if it was obviously impacted, like a restaurant, for example, that was obviously impacted, we could waive that if necessary, but we'll come up with some language with Tim and I. And then I've also had a request to add a wage requirement, that the average wage of an employee, and we can copy some out of Deed's program, to ensure that there's a minimum wage that they have to make in order to qualify for this program.
Okay. Any discussion?
Can you say a little bit more, Chair, about the minimum wage piece?
I can speak to that because it was my suggestion. So as we move forward within deeds programs at the state level, I'll say almost any time that there's subsidies given, there's a minimum wage requirement within that piece, making sure that the business is paying living wage. I think right now at the state level, I want to say it's like $13.60, $13.81 an hour. So just falling in line with those guidelines, knowing that if we're allocating taxpayer dollars, it's ensuring that those jobs meet those minimum thresholds, kind of just lining up our programs up and down the food chain. So.
And our tax abatement program has similar language, so maybe we'll just steal it from our tax abatement language and add to our policy that was included in your packet.
Thank you.
All right, then. And that was just information only.
No, actually, we're seeking approval of the resolution that was included in your packet.
Okay.
That establishes the business recovery program. That's resolution 061521 AD 2047.
Yeah.
The changes discussed.
All right, thanks for making that trip.
Thanks from the peanut gallery. No, Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the resolution with the changes discussed.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Dolan,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Phobie. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Now are you done, Dan?
I'm done.
Okay. Moving on then to receive the Public Works report regarding CASA 3 and CASA 20 intersection safety improvement, and consider that authorization of additional pilot project. You're gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll give it a quick shot since
Okay.
I went to a meeting last night. So real quick, the county board discussed this briefly last fall and kind of tabled it and wanted Andrew to proceed as he had recommended. We were able to make some safety improvements to the intersection and also were able to study it a couple of times. There was good safety improvements following the MnDOT guidelines for kind of how we do things. But there, is some possibility for improvement. And now that we're doing some analysis and not just relying on statewide data, there's some benefit in considering possibly a pilot project here where we would add, in addition to the rumble strips and the signage, LED stop signs, and then study it again and create additional baseline specific to Sherburne County. I would note also that we did study an additional LED intersection only, so we have some good baseline data as we look system-wide for these improvements. So there's 3 recommendations for the board to consider. One would be authorizing a pilot project at CASA 3 and CASA 20, and then doing a future study so we have some additional baseline data. Second is, should the engineer feel it's important that we do a corridor pilot project versus an individual one, that he can proceed with that. And that still needs a little bit of additional study of the other 2 intersections on the corridor. And then third is, based upon what we're learning about technology-enhanced traffic controls, is to develop a policy that the board can then approve for the future application of these. Just, by means of example, dynamic speed signs or driver awareness signs are becoming somewhat interesting. And there's good evidence, again, statewide evidence, that they reduce speeds by, 8 to 10 miles an hour, Andrew? We really don't have a policy to address that, so we can wrap that in for technology-based enhancements. And, once the board establishes it, much like you have other policies, then we don't have to handle these always on an ad hoc case-by-case basis. It's a little bit of a step out to do a pilot project, but, we feel that the data that we can gather is probably worth the investment. I would note that I was at the Palmer Town Board last night for a general county update. We discussed this. I did receive an email from the board, and they are supportive of the pilot project. I also had a chance to speak to a couple of residents in the area who've been impacted by accidents, and they were supportive as well. So we're recommending, if the board's comfortable, that we do this.
All right, and this would go along with our, we've been moving to increase the rural intersections at safety enhancements along with lighting features. So this is just another tool to be able to use how we can make all those rural intersections a lot safer.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners, this would be an opportunity to develop that policy so that we could see the benefits of some of the rural safety improvements at our intersections and our rural roadways.
Yeah, because I think it's important that we have a good policy in place that we can follow to make those improvements. So any other comments on?
Madam
Commissioner
Chair, I'd like the
Smeezing?
opportunity to make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Smeezing,
Madam Chair, I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Dolan. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Do we have, Andrew, you can maybe answer this, is within your public works budget, do we have a line item for pilot projects or studies on our own versus relying on state level data?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dolan, we do not specifically for that. The only item that I can really reference would be some of the traffic safety improvements
Okay.
that we do include in our budget line items.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is I mean, I don't know how the rest of my colleagues feel, but the ability to fund these pilot projects on targeted issues that we're having from a safety perspective system-wide, I think has some value in taking a look at, developing a line item in the public works budget and then leaving that to discretion of that department to identify, or input from us as well on where there might be issues. Because I think there is substantial value in us aggregating our own data in our own county with our own traffic types and not relying on that state level piece. So I'm in support of this one-off thing, but I think there's probably more we can do further down the road with additional pilot projects. So.
All right, and I'm assuming that this pilot project could also maybe, we could recapture by some grant funding, because most pilot projects have safety issues. They end up, the other areas see them, the state sees it. So it is valuable, collectible information that can be shared. So maybe there's a way to recapture some of the funding as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look into that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I can just make a comment, I mean, this is something that I've been involved in for quite some time, and it's, in a community, these become emotionally charged issues. People die at our intersections, and it doesn't matter whether they have flashing lights on them, whether they have no matter what you do, people are being injured and dying at our intersections, and we want to avoid as much of that as possible. This was, there's a lot of data here. There's a lot of data that tells us that we were close one way or the other, that, we really can't make a decision just simply based on data is where I'm at with it. Sometimes if it's emotional for a community and people are trying to heal, sometimes maybe if it's close, we should be trying to meet the needs of the community as what's in their psyche, their hearts, more so than just directly by the numbers. And it's difficult. And I've been following this. I've watched, had an accident on 25 at an intersection that doesn't have any flashing lights and didn't have the big signs. So, here we go. And then, about 2 weeks later, we have a accident at a flashing light intersection. So, and we're gonna have accidents at rumble strip intersections. So there is no perfect answer, I don't think. And I don't think that that we can automatically, numerically make decisions about this. Sometimes I think when it's close, we should weigh in on the side of what the community is asking us to do when we can.
I think also until we're able to factor out the human element that is involved in all these things, it's going to be something that can happen, but we should be doing everything we can to make it as safe as we can. Yes, Commissioner Philby.
Felix, I appreciate your comments. The old social worker in me, how many times have I mentioned with Health and Human Services things, you can't quantify everything. And challenges and catastrophic things in communities affect communities. And sometimes we got to listen to that piece. We've all been through it in our different communities. And it's a hard thing because we want to look at data and we want to look at all, and we need to. So I think I appreciate this pilot piece. It makes sense. And I appreciate that we're doing this for that community. So.
Right. Okay, so there is a motion on the table, and barring any further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Andrew. All right, next up, we have our commissioner correspondence and committee reports. Who is ready to start?
I'll start.
Commissioner Phobie.
I really want to thank all the board members that have filled in for stuff. My son got married, second part of a wedding this last weekend, and the first part was in California a month ago, so I've been a little preoccupied. So thank you, everyone. I had the East Central Regional Juvenile Detention Center Joint Advisory Meeting, which things are humming along there. We'll be soon coming to you with our joint powers agreement is expiring, so we need to look at that, and we're looking at potentially a few new members. Stearns and Benton is considering coming on board, which they were part of the original joint powers board years ago. So had a Princeton Airport meeting, had a MICA meeting, the Soil and Water Board met, AMC District meeting yesterday. And just because I don't want to miss this, I would appreciate if our board nominated Mary Jo McGuire out at NACO. So I don't know how that process happens, but
it happens by
the chair.
Yep.
So I want to put my 2 cents in there. That's
All
it.
right.
I can go.
Commissioner Smeezing.
On the 9th, I had MICA Executive Committee meeting, a MICA meeting, and Metropolitan Emergency Services Boards meetings. The 10th and 11th, I was involved with MCAT. And then yesterday was the AMC board meeting. So that's been my activities.
Do you concur with support for Mary Jo?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's exciting for us.
Yes, yes.
You see,
All right.
only
Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
Dolan, are you ready?
I can tee it up. I had a couple CMRP meetings, also had a couple meetings along with Commissioner Danielowski with our state representatives in the city of Becker and discussing developments with Excel and everything going on over in Becker. So we had a couple of those. AMC Jail Population Work Group is something I've been participating in. They had a meeting. City of Elk River Comprehensive Plan. I've been participating in that as well, and that is almost wrapped up. So we'll be seeing what their plans are and how it impacts our townships around it in the near future. And I think that is about it.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Brandt.
Yeah, I had a DHS COVID-19 steering committee meeting on the 4th, and a Healthy Minnesota Partnership meeting on the 9th, and attended the Mille Lacs, actually District 5 meeting in Mille Lacs County at Northern Lights yesterday, and that's it.
All right, thank you. As Commissioner Dolan referred to, I think we had about 3 Zoom meetings in regards to our state representatives and the Becker leadership in regards to the Xcel Energy issues. Also, on the 2nd, I had a Central Minnesota Gang Task Force meeting. On the 7th, I met with a group of residents in regards to their concerns with excess vehicle and storage in their neighborhood. Also had on the 10th, the CMRP meeting, had a Zoom meeting with Nate Fowler from Minnesota Department of Health in regards to vaccination opportunities going forward. Also had an APO board meeting that same evening. On the 11th, met with staff, and on the 14th, attended the AMC District Spring meetings as well. Okay.
Quick,
Yes.
Madam Chair. I just wanted to add something to the Zoom calls that Commissioner Danielowski and I were a part of with Excel. There was requests from the city of Becker for us to participate potentially down at the Capitol from a testifying process. And my message to them was, I'm not comfortable taking any position that we don't decide as a board. So prior to us advocating for anything, just know, I want my colleagues to know that there'd be board direction and board agreeance on whether what we're testifying on behalf of down there. So just wanted to make sure that was noted.
Yes, we're not, this is just something that is kind of just sprouting as to how they're looking at trying to address it. And that definitely will come before the board if there's any action on our part that is requested. Okay, moving on then, I will,
Chair?
yes, Commissioner
Just
Philby.
curious, who's all going to NACO?
I'm going, and I think,
I potentially could. I had planned on it, but I did have a project come up, and it might force me to virtual versus in person. So.
Okay, and then,
Barb is attending virtually.
okay, and then are any of you part of steering committees and caucuses with NACO at this point?
Yes.
What are those?
Technology and telecommunications.
Okay.
And Barb, did you have a NACO steering committee too that you
I don't
were
know if you
involved
call it
in?
a steering committee, but it's the, I have to look up the name specifically, but it's about kids and health.
Probably human services and education.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That one, Barb?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe mine is economic development and housing.
Workforce, economic and workforce development, okay.
Yep, and
Okay.
transportation.
Your transportation, okay.
You're talking about NACO.
NACO appointments, yes, because Bruce just sent us that request, and I would like to hop on something, but they're all of those.
Well,
So I
and
won't be able to get them.
and
I understand that.
You know,
Madam-
I could switch to the public health, there's a health one, if you wanted to be on the one I'm on.
Well, I will peek at them, and then this is helpful.
Madam-
So,
And I'm very flexible with mine as well.
and-
Okay.
And as am I, so.
okay, the transportation, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The public safety one is, justice, public safety has been quite interesting in the past. I
Mhm.
don't know if that might be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, good food for thought.
And
Yeah, just, it's good for us to know, I feel, what each other's on.
Right.
So, especially with our issues that we need
Yep.
back here, so.
And Madam Chair, I too would support us putting our support behind Mary Jo McGuire at the NACO conference. So just wanted to make that noted.
So our caucus, so when we caucus on that. All right. Okay. Any further items to add to our regular meeting? If not, we'll adjourn the regular meeting. We'll take a small recess and come back at 10:30 for the open of the Ditch Authority meeting. That's super exciting, guys. Ditch Authorities.
Are we able to
open our ditch authority meeting. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Sneedy. Seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. All right, moving on to receiving and approving the drainage technicians report. Mike, I see you have pictures.
Yeah.
And movies.
Yep. Good
We all
morning.
have our snacks, so we're good to go.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Is there any questions regarding my written report? I know it's pretty brief.
I didn't have any.
I didn't have any.
Okay.
So my chair.
Yes.
So ditch 1 is complete now.
Yeah, the portion that we cleaned is 100% complete. County Ditch 1 from County Road 1 north to Branch C is 100% complete now. All spoils are leveled. That's can hardly even tell we were even there. The farmer was right behind us after leveling with the dozer with his disc, so really turned out nice. Ditch 28. Landowner reported at the outlet through his yard, there was sinkholes over and around the pipe. He had, over the years, been filling it in with black dirt himself, but he was getting sick and tired of it, so he finally called. Called and I came out to investigate and pretty much came to the conclusion I knew what was going on, is that the pipe was failing and water was going around the pipe. And when it gets to the outside of the pipe, it takes the dirt with it, and away it goes downstream.
Well, that's a pipe going like that. I thought it looked like a four-wheel track.
Yeah, so did I at first.
Through there.
Yeah, it kind of does. This is what the pipe looked like. It's just full of holes. The whole bottom was just pretty much rotten. And that's what happens with these old metal culverts. They just don't last forever. 30 years if you're lucky.
How old do you think this one is, Mike?
Probably about 30 years.
Okay.
Could be even less. Some of them have a little more galvanizing on them than others, so they last a little bit longer.
I'm assuming they made vast improvements in technology since then.
Yep, and we very rarely even use metal culverts anymore. It's plastic or concrete. They should have a life of around 100 years. We're hoping it's still out there for debate.
Well, let me know how that goes.
Yeah. Yep. Another part of County Ditch 28, sinkholes, failing tile. The old 12-inch concrete tile was served its life. It was failing, busted up, and was no longer working. It was backing up water, even as dry as it's been, it was still backing up water into a person's property. We dug it all out, all the way up to the street. This area here is where 2 high-pressure gas lines run through Elk River, Northern Natural Gas. There's a 6-inch and a 12-inch. So we had to be really careful here. They did have a watchdog person out on the job the whole time we were digging around the pipelines. This is the trench. The yellow marker is where one of the lines is. We were about 8 to 10 inches above that line. Fortunately, when they built the development for Windsor Oaks, they had the foresight to replace the tile under the road that they were building. So they had a pretty heavy-duty plastic pipe, and we were able to connect to that. So now all of the drain tile is new now. So we shouldn't, hopefully not have any more problems in this area. We attached to the existing pipe with a fern coal, which is basically a big rubber gasket, and you use metal bands to tighten it up onto the pipe. This is the last connection by the road.
What do you use the fabric for? You don't use that fabric, you don't wrap it with the fabric or the joint? Do you wrap with the fabric or?
On this particular one, we do usually. It's just a safeguard.
Okay.
Just a safeguard, just in case that thing ever did come loose a little bit, it wouldn't.
It doesn't hurt anything in there.
Right. We usually do when we make a connection, if it's two different materials that we're connecting. Here he's just hooking up a plastic band with zip ties. Ditch 34. This is where the culvert was completely plugged. You can see this is downstream, there's no water. This is upstream where the water was over the pipe, as it was so backed up. So I have a couple quick videos of this.
I'm afraid we could lose you to Hollywood.
Got something going somewhere.
Got running water.
There we go. So we used a long log. The one that we brought there actually got stuck in the pipe, so there was a dead poplar tree right next to where we were working, and the landowner told us to knock it down and use it, so we did. Now it's really starting to open up. This is actually a public works backhoe that we're using here. It's the perfect machine for this type of work. And it's really nice for scheduling too, because they can get out there the next day if need be. That's that. That's getting the pipe open. And this is
from the upstream side?
We did both upstream and downstream. It was a really tough one. But this is afterwards, just like a big vacuum once it opens up. It just.
So is it just a accumulation of sediment?
It's from beavers.
Oh, the
The
beavers.
beavers had it.
Those
Yeah, I
dumb
should have
beavers.
said that at the beginning. The beavers had it completely plugged with sticks and mud.
Those little guys.
So about 24 hours after that, the water went down almost 2 feet. And that's all I have. If there's any questions or comments?
Any questions or comments for Mike?
I have a quick comment that was fun. So I was out, Annie and I were out walking in Woodland Hills this weekend, enjoying the weather, and we crossed a little stream of water, and she's, I wonder what that is. I go, that's County Ditch 31. She's like, of course you know that. I go, that's because Mike gives me good information. Mike taught me well. I think it was the first time I've ever had to reference a ditch.
You could have probably pulled up a picture of how he's maintained it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, looking then for a motion to receive and approve the drainage technician's report as presented.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Phobie, seconded by Commissioner Brandt. Any further discussion? All I gotta say is thank you, Mike, for all you do for
Yep.
keeping these ditches working.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And thanks for the pictures. That's always really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time then, we will adjourn our Ditch Authority meeting, and we will now open our workshop. This